Okay, so we're out here on Spencer Lake. It's in Mason County. Show you the rigging I'm using here. I've got just a gold Dodger here, shattered gold, and then I'm using a little, how well you can see that, it's a little shad tube, a couple of beads, it's number 6 treble hook. See what we can do.
And I ain't getting any drag on his little ass.
So Pete's got a fish on. He's running a Trout Tricks worm. Pink, right?
Yep. Feels like it's a pretty nice trout.
Let's see how we do here. Let me know, I got the net here if you need it. Water temperature's about 51.5 degrees. Marking a lot of fish. We're at about 26 feet of water right now.
Look at that.
Oh yeah. Let me grab the net here. Oh, that's a nice trout, Pete. Good fish. Look at the size of his mouth. Oh, Pete. That is a trout, buddy. Look at that one.
We're gonna get a picture of that.
First trout of the day. I don't know if you can see that there, but look at the size of that baby. Spencer Lake. Show us that worm, Pete. Oh, it's still in here, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. We'll show you the rig up as soon as we get that thing free. That is a nice trout, Pete. Had several pounds right there to begin with.
We inhaled that worm.
Yeah. You see that thing. So that is just a pink Trout Tricks worm, and you can get those at fishhuntshoot.com. Guy turned us on to those things, and they're deadly. You want to hold a fish up here? He's bleeding. You're gonna have to keep him. He's going in the box anyway. Beautiful. What do you got there, woolly booger?
This is the Trout Tricks worm.
Again. All right, I'm gonna have to pull the shad tube and go with the Trout Tricks. How many colors of lead core do you have on this one?
How many am I? Oh, how many colors? 3 on 4 on that one.
Okay. A nice little planter trout. Gonna let him go. I don't know if they can see it. Oh, we can. But we'll turn a little bit here. There we go.
Trout Tricks, baby. That worm's getting poured up. See what we got.
That's 4.
What's he kicking at?
I don't think he's there.
That's just not very big.
Yeah. You got one there. Holy shit, man.
That's a nice one. Oh, it's not. Unless that's yours.
No, that's yours. Double. That's pretty awesome. Trout Tricks, baby. Are they both Trout Tricks?
No. You got a woolly bugger and I got the Trout Trick.
Shad tube's not doing it, Cal. Just so you know. About as close to 2 fish at the same time as you're going to get right there, buddy.
Yeah, that's not a bad trout.
You want the net?
Yeah.
This was just a little plant.
Look at that.
Little tiny one on the woolly booger.
Mike?
Yeah. It's a nice trout.
Any boats on your side?
You what? Put him back. Let him swim to another rod. All right, so we're gonna pull the shad tube out. Let's go to a Trout Tricks on this side and
And
see
I already
how
have
we
one
do.
hooked up, Mike.
I got a couple of them. I'll fish up what I've already tied up, and then I'll tie up with your your rig up.
Oh, I just lost one on this side.
I'll show you guys how we rig these things up too.
Alright, that pole's up out of the way.
See, now I feel like I got to put it back in the water because I got salad on my line, man. I think when we went through the shallows over there, I've probably been dragging garbage, and that's why I'm not hooking up with anything. So I got to give it a fair shot.
Another one on the woolly bugger. Another hit.
This one looks good in the water too, dude.
Nice hit on the trout tricks.
Look at this thing in the water.
That looks fishy as fuck.
That's heck.
Heck. YouTube, sorry, yep. Have to edit that out. Had a nice hit on the trout trick.
I'm gonna let this tube fish for another 5 minutes or so without the salad on it, see how that does.
Going on.
We're making this look easy, Peter.
Oh, middle one, Mike.
We're gonna get a double. All right, I went out one color on that shad tube. Let's see how we do there. How's that one look? Another plant?
Yep.
Gonna run us aground here, Captain.
Need to sink that other dam.
Running the tail fin remote control, first time out. Seems like it's working well. I gotta get something on this shad tube and redeem myself.
Oh, don't do it. 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 Don't do it.
Yeah, he's gonna get him.
Don't do it.
He's coming
don't
in.
Do it.
Osprey just tried to steal Pete's fish. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's pretty cool though.
Yep, gone. That trout tricks merman. Done.
Time to use up another one. I'm gonna switch that if I ever get your real untangled here. Oh, got it?
Yeah.
This is pretty much turning into the Pete Catches Fish channel around here.
Another little plant.
Should have just called it Mike the Deckhand. Yeah, they must have planted a fair amount of fish in here, I'm guessing. There's a lot of little ones feeding. Another fish on the trout tricks here. First one of the day for me. Yeah, he ain't very big. No, he's just a little plant. Just a little dink. He's gonna go back. They do like that worm though. There he goes. So I've got mine rigged up different than Pete. I'm using an octopus hook, which is what I had been using before. Probably need a bobber stop on here to keep the rest of the line off the worm, and then I got a action disc in front of it that gives it some action, so it actually spins through the water pretty well. And then the hammered gold Dodger, he was on there, not feeling much, so he's either a tiny little trout or he's not on there. He's there right here. So that's a color and a half of lead core out I had there.
Well, I think as the day gets brighter, we're probably going to have to go down a little bit deeper.
I might change that Dodger out too, because I'm running gold right now. I might go to one of those mini willow leaves, because I like the way they pull through the water. And that worm doesn't need a lot of action. At least not from the Dodger. It's already got an action disc on it. Yeah, he's just a little guy. Better than the ones we've been catching, but he ain't big by any means. So you're running pink worms, right?
Yep.
I'm running an orange. Away he goes. I should know better than put a clean sweatshirt on before I come fishing. Just keep a dirty sweatshirt in the boat. Well, on there, but man, that was a hell of a hit. I'm not sure. Nope, he ain't there. But he crashed that worm though, didn't he?
I missed the hit. I saw you get up, and then I saw him pulling it. He was hooked up for a minute.
What does that say? I should sharpen my hook, right?
Sharpen your hook.
You're just crushing that worm. I'm running an orange worm.
I'm wondering, I'm probably going to have to change this worm out. It was battered.
I've just been running through the colors, man. I haven't even been paying attention to, hey, put this one on because it's working. I just go left to right in the box. Every one of them seems to catch. At least the ones I've tried so far. The only place we didn't have a lot of luck with it was over in American Lake, where the water's really clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little colder over there, so flies were hitting it over there pretty well.
That was the only thing last time we went. Well, a rolled worm
Yeah.
and fly.
But the plastics, we weren't catching anything on the plastics over there, but it's a totally different fishery. You know? I gotta think the clarity of the water in there just, it changes everything in that lake, because there's less shit for the fish to eat and all that stuff. Really? That was gonna be a double. Got one here, but he ain't nothing big. Then I'll take you. Oh, we'll plant. I never thought I'd say I wish they'd quit stocking small trout in this lake, but
Close to a double.
right there you go, baby. Yeah, the bobber stop is mandatory on these, man. Absolutely mandatory. Because that one's going to be trashed before I get a chance to really fish it out, I'm afraid. How you doing on action discs?
Good. This one feels like it might be a little nicer. Not like the first one, but
Oh, you still got that one on. was. I thought you brought him in and released him already.
Yep, you can load it. Not bad trout.
So you're fishing a color.
I'm fishing one color.
I'm fishing pretty much a color and a half.
And my fly is 75 points behind the boat.
Yeah, I picked up a couple on that one. Tempted to throw a metalhead in here and see what it does. But then I'd be leaving fish to find fish. That'd be kind of dumb. We're about an hour in, and I bet you we've hooked better than a dozen anyway. He's hooked on there. I saw him jump. Luckily, you're tied in a knot, so I can catch up now. Set that down, I'll mess with it. Yeah. There we go. We'll look at it. Feels healthy. Way to the top shot there. I don't think he's all that big. He's just feisty. Good at the hatchery, maybe, huh?
Guess so.
This weather holds out for us. We don't get any rain this afternoon.
I think it's supposed to clear up.
Oh, hit. Hit. Come on. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a camera here at the back.
Oh, I think I lost this guy. Goes to a double.
That's a pretty guy. Not huge, but
yeah,
we'll take him.
I like it. Trout tricks.
Revive. And down he goes.
No?
Out of the water, but I didn't get a really good look at him.
No net?
No, I don't think so. Oh. Nothing spectacular.
Take and drag, Mike.
That's a fly, right?
Nope. Look at that.
Is that a worm?
Yep. Take and drag. Two colors, yeah. Oh, Mike, there's another one.
Easy. Pretty close to a triple.
Oh, he's pulling, Mike. He's pulling line.
So we're running all 3 trout tricks?
I think so.
Little plant.
Triple on the trout tricks. Oh yeah, this might be a netter, Mike. Oh yeah, it's a netter. Okay.
Alright. 2 rods behind you there. Oh, that's a bigger fish, Pete. Come on, baby. Oh, yeah. Good color. Oh, yeah, that's a big fish.
Oh!
That was bigger than the first one you caught. I guarantee it. That was 20 plus inches.
You
Well,
take a drag.
that's what you get. So I was 2 colors out on that one.
Well, that's a good sandwich.
So pretty much we boated 3 fish right next to those guys. That's a little better trout. He's not anything special, but he's tiny.
Oh yeah.
Good hit. Is he there?
Yeah, he's still there. I think he's not as big as the hit would have indicated.
Right. I've had a lot of feisty little ones kind of chewing stuff up where you feel like it should be something, then it turns into nothing.
Wouldn't mind another 1 or 2. Like, oh, there you go. Hit mine.
Well, I switched back to that pink.
Oh, mine just came off behind the boat.
I switched back to that pink worm, got rid of the shed tube. Although it was producing, I think I caught 5 or 6 on that, right?
I was keeping track. I think 4 or 5.
Thanks for keeping me straight, Pete. Seemed like a good hit, but like I said, we've been catching a bunch of little ones that were spicy.
Still have the shad tube on?
No, I went back to a worm.
Trout trick worm.
I'll show you my shad right here. I'm gonna have to throw a fish on in there somewhere at the end of it. Fish on. That's gone. Where's the color there? That's the leader.
Maybe some more fish. Mike's got a nice one on. You don't want to get it.
You can end up in the water.
I don't care. That's nice.
He ain't that big. He's pretty big, Mike. huge. Nice little Spencer Lake trout.
Want a picture of that one, or are you good?
No, I'm good. Get back in the water. Put him in a net. Right back in. Still got him on? So that's a little pink trout tricks. That's all I'm fishing there. Starting to get a little beat up. I'll throw him out there again, see what he does. Running the same worm, I think. Pink. Yep. And half an hour. Although the plastic worms tend to get beat up pretty quick, don't they?
Yeah. But I tell you, a live worm you can't use but once.
Right.
I like the colors on the suffix. I think the suffix is more rich.
It seems like it has better contrast.
Yeah.
To me. I haven't tried the that's the cheapy performance braid. There's another suffix that's actually supposed to be a little deeper running, but I guess it's harder to work with, so I haven't tried it.
And this is 18 pound, not 15.
Yeah, it's odd how they do that, because it's just the carrier is what does the strength of it, you know. So 18 pound braid and 15 and 10 or 12, whatever, they all sink to the same depth.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's the pound do then?
The only thing they change when they change the poundage of it is the carrier on the outside, the braid around the outside, is either stronger or weaker. But it all weighs the same as far as I know, because they say suffix on the performance braid says about 5 feet per color.
Yep.
And then their higher end braid, I think they say 7 to 8 feet per color. And I think it's because it's got a different carrier or something on it. I don't know. I haven't tried it. Because like I said, it was supposedly harder to work with, so I started with the easiest stuff.
Well, I just, Sparko didn't have suffix, so I just got the Mason. That's all gone now, but I will buy suffix off Amazon from now on.
Yeah, I think it's like 12, 13 bucks a roll, something like that. And
here's my blue. Look at your blue.
Yeah.
Right, and then this color.
I'd like to see drastic changes from color to color, right?
Yeah,
like blue behind red and all that, instead of going from like blue to brown.
Okay, look at that. I got brown.
Right.
And then I got a maroon, and it's hard to tell. Not on the reel, it isn't, but out here. Pain in the ass.
Yeah, I can see some color fading on that, even that suffix braid. And we've been fishing them for what, a couple months? Not even that long. So it's definitely a perishable product, just like monofilament. Hi guys, I just wanted to go through a little bit of the tackle and stuff you might be seeing today on the video I'm hoping to post. I didn't get much chance to do it yesterday. Out on the boat, we've only got the one camera. It's a little hard to do that kind of stuff out here. I'll start off first by telling you that just a regular guy who likes to fish. Don't profess to be an expert at anything. I'm not trying to make any money at this. I'm not selling a product or anything like that. So I just want to go through kind of the stuff that we were using, some of my typical trolling rigs, try and cut in some of the footage that we shot yesterday. We had a pretty good day of fishing out at Lake Spencer. Probably going to hear a bunch of sounds like noise in the background with some jets coming over or something, but we'll try and work through that. Real quick, like I said, we only used a couple of techniques out there on Spencer yesterday. We used plastics mainly. We did go to some plugs later in the day, a little Rapala plug in particular, and it was an ultralight minnow, but primarily we were using plugs, and we were using lead core line. So let me show you our setup for that. Again, this isn't something I invented, something I came to recently, and it surprised me because I didn't think lead core would be the thing to use necessarily for trout. I never really thought about it, never used it before, but I went and took some stuff off of fishuntShoot.com. Essentially, he has a great setup of videos of how to just about everything, so it's a great resource for information. This is essentially his lead core setup with a few modifications. He runs 3 colors. I've got 4 on this one. So essentially, down at the arbor, I have 10-pound trilene big game just to spool onto the arbor because it grips well. From that, it's uni to uni, and it goes to 20-pound braid. Right now I'm using Cast King Destron. It's a 4-carrier braid. Seems to work pretty dang well. And then from that, I go to Suffix Performance lead core, which is their most inexpensive lead core. Again, I put 4 colors on there, so they claim you get about 5 feet per color. With 4 colors of that out, and then you start letting some backing out, you can get down relatively deep. I'm estimating in the 30-foot range. And from there, I went to 20-foot, or about a 60-foot top shot of 20-pound Cast King fluorocarbon leader. And of course, it goes always to a swivel and a bead. I don't know if you can see that. Just a swivel and a bead on the end of the rod, and then you snap on your leaders, lures, whatever it is you need to use. I'm running this on a 5500 LC Abu reel. I really like it. His calculations and measurements were all set up to go to a 5500, so that's what I used. I modified, did a little math essentially to get that extra color on there, because Cal over at Fish Hunt Shoot usually runs 3 colors. I'm running 4 on this for no particular reason, except I just wanted to try something different. He's also running glass rods. This rod is one I had around in my garage, and it is Cabela's. It's just a relatively inexpensive Cabela's Steelhead rod. It's an 8 to 17 rod. They consider that a medium heavy. I tend to consider it about a medium rod, and it's fairly fast action. So this isn't something I would be running in a downrigger. I could, but I don't really, because it doesn't have a lot of flex in the butt end here. If you're not familiar with the actions, most of the play is in the tip end, and then it stiffens up as it goes down. So I find that a great rod to run that lead core setup on. I get some questions about it. Hey, doesn't that seem heavy for trout? And it does. It depends on what kind of trout you're trying to catch. A lot of the little planter trout, it is a relatively heavy rod for that. But if you tie into trout in the 20+ inch range, in multiple pounds, it's a perfectly acceptable rod for running that particular thing, especially with the lead core, because the more lead core you let out, the more it loads up. So I've been having good luck with that rod. My buddy Pete, who you see on the video, is running a 6 to 12 rod, and he likes that real well. I just don't have a 6 to 12 casting rod right now to put that on, but eventually I might try that. The other rod I had in the boat that I did not use yesterday, this is the rod I use a lot for flies, and this is just a Okuma 30 series or 30 size Okuma spinning rod, and then this is just a fiberglass Lamiglass X11. It's a 9'6". It's a steelhead rod, so it's a little bit faster than your typical downrigger type setup. It's not quite as fast as what you would consider a true fast action rod. If you're looking for something in the range of a bass fishing rod that feels more like a pool cue all the way to the tip, that is not it. But I find this rod gives me a lot of options when I want to run flies, even with a little bit of weight. So quite often we'll run little trolling weights or something like that. Especially before we got into lead core, we were doing a lot of long lining this year with trolling weights, and a trolling weight with a fly makes a great combination on that particular rod, and I'll show you the flies here in just a minute. If I'm down rigging, which I didn't do yesterday, and I probably won't do until much later in the season, I use a fairly light setup. These are moderate action rods. You can see it's got quite a bend in it, right? This is a 2 to 8 rod with a Lexa 100 line counter on it, and I think I have this spooled up with about 10 pound. It's either P line or big game, I'm not sure which. same terminal end. It's got a snap, it's got a swivel, and it's got a bead on the end of it. So that kind of same terminal end is what I use on all of them. I tend to use something more spongy like this in a downrigger just because I like the way it loads in a downrigger. I feel like it gives me a little bit better feel for what the bait is doing in the water. But I'll tell you, we caught over at Lake Lawrence, we caught a couple trout that were in the 5-pound class, and I caught one of them on this particular rod, and that's a lot of fish to horse around on a rod like this. So there's some logic to the fact that you might want to size up depending on what size of fish you're trying to catch. It's certainly fun to catch big fish on light rods, but you don't always have the control that you want. So one of the other things I'll say is I do tend to run longer rods, obviously. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, I think it's just something that we do because we're used to using long rods for trout or salmon and things like that. But I find myself that with the boat that we fish out of, which is a 18-foot North River Seahawk with an offshore bracket on the back, that a longer rod gives me more control, lets me work around maybe the rigging and the gear that might be on the back of the boat, so we can get the fish over to where we can net and land him real well. So my typical rods, the white one I showed you, that tournament kokanee, is an 8-foot rod. The Steelhead lead core rod's an 8'6" rod. My spinning rod's a 9'6", and this rod right here is a 9'6" as well. This is an Angler's West, actually, Angler's West rod, and I think it's about a 2 to 8 rod. It's a Talon blank. It's a fabulous rod, very good quality rod. Another Lexa 100 on there. Again, I've got 8 or 10 pound, I believe it's 8 pound, either big game or it's more likely CX Premium P-line. Both of those I use, and both of those I like. This rod is actually a little faster than the rod that I showed you, the white rod, but it does have plenty of play. It's easy to load in a downrigger. Overall, if I just had to pick one rod to fish for trout with, this might well be it. I don't know how well it would handle the lead core with some of the weights that you put out there, but I haven't tried it. But that rod is just has a fabulous action for trout fishing. So those are the rods that we used. Primarily yesterday, I was using this lead core rod. So let's talk about that and what we were tying up yesterday. I don't think I have one tied up here in the box, but I'll just show you what was really killing them yesterday were these little Trout Tricks worms. So it's nothing but a little plastic worm, right? There's nothing special to it. Pete is rigging them up on a gold Eagle Claw Aberdeen, I believe. I'm using a number 4 light wire Octopus Eagle, and essentially all you do is rig that hook all the way down through it till the hook comes out about somewhere in here, so you've got a little dangly tail. And then in front of that, we're running a couple of bobber stops to position on the line, and that is a wiggle disc from Wigglefin Tackle. We've been using that on a lot of plastics. We've been using that on flies. It imparts a really interesting swimming action in that bait, and really gives it a good type of action in the water. One thing I will say about these, when we first started rigging them, because we discovered these when we started looking at Fish Hunt Shoot, and we fished once with Cal down in California, and these were just really interesting baits. And one of the things I'll say about them up here is I believe that we catch a lot of fish on them because a lot of people aren't throwing something like that. They're not seeing that kind of bait, so it might be something interesting. The other thing, depending on how you rig this, you can rig this to resemble a rolled nightcrawler. So you're probably all familiar with nightcrawler fishing, especially if you've done walleye, on a slow death hook. And you can certainly rig this thing on a slow death hook, but you don't really need to. If you rig it like I described, with the hook coming out here, and then those bobber stops will allow you to slide, even if you don't use a wiggle disc, slide that worm into a shape like that, and in the water it will just roll and roll and roll. And the fish tend to love that for some reason. Again, maybe it's something they haven't seen, or there's something that the fish just key in on with that particular kind of roll. Normally when I'm fishing those, I will fish those with either a standard dodger or one of these mini willow leaf dodgers. These things are fantastic. They're very lightweight, low resistance in the water, but they really do impart a lot of action. I actually pulled one out of here yesterday that's not in the box, but essentially it's just a gold, and you'll see it on the video, it's just a gold, smashed gold dodger but the way that it's turned up on the tip and the end, just give it an incredible action in the water. I've used a lot of Dodgers, Lure Jensen, and then sling blades and things like that, and I've had good luck with them. I will tell you that a sling blade, unless you bend it pretty drastically, doesn't have near as much action on the water as some of these other Dodgers do. I don't even know what particular brand this is, but you can see this, the way that that thing's shaped, it really has a lot of action in the water, as do these little mini willow leaves. I was just knocked out when I actually saw one of these in the water and how well they work. So that's what we're doing with the Trout Tricks worms. The other thing I was running yesterday was this little guy right here, and he's still tied up. That is just a shad tube. That's a shad tube with number 6 treble hook, and I tied a couple of beads in front of it. You can see I put another bead on the head, and I've got a wiggle disc in front of it, so it shimmies through the water. It's nothing special. I don't know that there's a lot of people fishing that kind of stuff for trout. It's really a crappie tube is what they use it for. Black crappie back east, or even out west, I guess. I haven't caught any out here, but that's all that thing is. You can get those from Southern Pro or a number of different places. Cal sells tube kits as well at Fish Hunt Shoot if you're interested in that. So I have a bunch of different colors of those, and we did pretty well on that. I got to be honest, I really didn't give that its due yesterday because we were hitting so well on the Trout Tricks worms that I didn't bother with a lot of other stuff. Like I said, I did fish a rainbow trout pattern, Rapala plug, and it caught several fish. But that, to be honest with you, that's because I didn't feel like tying up another. We had caught a lot of fish, and I did not feel like tying up another worm. The other thing that we've just been killing it on in the summertime here, or not the summertime, I'm sorry, in the winter, we came to this late as well, are these trolling flies, right? This fly right here, I got this from the Gig Harbor Fly Shop. It's just a metalhead zonker. It's got some red and black in it right there. It's a beautiful little fly. I can't tell you how many fish I've caught on that. That particular fly has probably put 30 fish in the boat here in the past 3 months. I got lots of different colors and styles of flies. These are particular flies. A lot of these I bought from Arctic Fox, a great resource for trolling flies. Just a bunch of different colors and a bunch of different styles. I'm not a fly fishing guy, so I can't tell you what all the different patterns are, and frankly I don't really care. I just want something that looks in the water like I want it to look, and then I'll give it a shot. I have a fair amount of these, and I've caught fish on these too. Is a tube fly. Now a tube fly is a little different because it's tied on a tube. Leader material goes through it. You tie it onto a hook, stack a couple of beads on there depending on where you want your hook to be at the end of the fly, and that's pretty much it. Again, when we run these, you can run them naked. I haven't had a lot of luck with naked flies. Typically what I will run them with on a fly setup like that is a bead, any particular bead that you like as far as color or size, and then a wiggle disc, and that wiggle disc gives them all the action in the world. So when I'm running a fly, I'll either run it top line depending on how cold the water is. Let's talk about water temperature real quick. Right now, depending on the lake you're in, the lake we were in yesterday is about 52. Some of the larger impoundments around here are still down in the 40s. So it's been tough fishing. We've been trolling all winter long with not as much success as I would have liked. But this year has been kind of a transitional year for us. So we've been fishing traditionally a lot of Northwest baits, right? We've been fishing a lot of wedding rings and little spoons and things like that. This year we started playing with a lot of different baits, and we started playing with the speed a little bit and changing things up, and we've had a lot of luck with that. So when we got onto the flies in the early part of 2022, we found great success with those. When we started in with the plastics a little bit after that, we had great success with that. So we're just trying a lot of different things, and I think it's because they don't see a ton of these things that we're trying on them that some of them are successful. So I encourage you to try different things you haven't tried. Again, I'm not trying to sell you anything in particular. Like I said, a lot of my gear comes from fishhuntshoot.com because there's a lot of novel stuff there. It's not anything new to the market maybe, but I think it's just rigged in innovative and thoughtful ways, and it's set up to fish for species that you wouldn't consider. I wouldn't have considered plastic bait fishing for, or a lot of plastic bait fishing for trout before I started doing this, especially trolling. So that's kind of where we're at. You talk about line, I don't think there's anything magical about that. For years I ran ultra green Maxima, and I still love Ultra Green Maxima. It's a fairly expensive line. Since probably 2019 or 2020, I've been using a lot of this P line, either CXX or CX Premium. I found great results with that. It's really tough stuff. Has a fair amount of memory, so I'm not totally tied to that just yet. Ultra Green is relatively stiff as well. Lately I've been messing around a lot with just plain old Trilene Big Game, and I've been pretty happy with Big Game. It's not an expensive line, but it seems to work pretty well. And then for leader materials, you know, I run a lot of the Cast King leader. I love the box that this thing comes in, makes it easy to feed in and out of. Seems to be good, tough, durable line. I also run the P line SS fluorocarbon. That's one thing that I will tell you I'm a convert to, is fluorocarbon leaders, because if you look at them in the water, they're much more invisible than other types of leader material. So I recommend fluorocarbon leaders, even if you don't think you need them. I really think it kind of ups the game a little bit. So I wouldn't get too wrapped up in the different types of line and types of rods and types of reels and all that. I mean, I've got a lot of fishing rods there in my shop, but I've come to these four for fishing for trout, and none of these are super expensive rods, really. The Angler's West over there is the most expensive rod, and it was a gift, so I can justify using that thing. The rest of these are relatively inexpensive, $100 or less type rods. I don't think you need $10 billion of equipment to try and fish for trout, especially in the Northwest. But that's up to you. Your mileage may vary. Do I enjoy fishing with an expensive rod and reel? Absolutely I do. Hopefully you'll enjoy this video, and we can take a look and see what else we can put together for you guys. Like I said, it's just a recreational fishing channel. Not trying to sell you anything or tell you that the way that I do it is the best. We should be going over to Lake Roosevelt here in about 3 weeks to a month, so we should be able to get some good footage over there, hoping to capitalize on some trout and some walleye. We did pretty good on walleye there in the past years that we've been there. May go up and do a little bit of saltwater fishing out of CQ. I believe Nia Bay is still closed, but we'll go out in CQ and see what we can do there. And probably later in the year we'll do some salmon and that kind of stuff. We just take advantage of whatever stuff is around here, but primarily we like to do trout angling. So as we put videos on this channel, I'll probably give you some more information about things that I've forgotten, but for now I think that'll cover what we did yesterday. Thanks. Bye.